Gina Martin is a disability awareness educator living with multiple disabilities, including blindness, ADHD, and epilepsy. With over 40 years of lived experience and deep roots in the disability community, Gina helps people move past discomfort and uncertainty by teaching respectful, practical strategies for inclusion. She believes in fostering a deeper understanding of these concepts, along with practical, easy-to-implement strategies in workplaces and communities that work for all. Since 2019, Gina has developed and delivered numerous presentations and workshops for a wide variety of audience to foster deeper understanding and better practices for inclusion, diversity, equity, accessibility, and language. Her presentations and programs have touched people with diverse backgrounds and abilities in nonprofits, communities, recreation centers, schools, and seniors' residences. We are very excited to welcome Gina to the stage to share practical strategies for promoting inclusivity and accessibility in your workplace. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you. Thank you very much, Goodwill, for presenting DEAM Connect today. We're all here to learn and to learn how to connect with each other. I started losing my sight when I was 20 years old. It's been a slow deterioration, and it's been constantly changing. If you've met one person who's blind, you've met one person who's blind, because no two people are exactly the same. Every single one of us has different support systems at home, school, and work. We all have different opportunities or not. Some of us have opportunities for rehab and training. Some of us don't. All of us are different acceptances in our own journey, which makes each and every one of us unique. Within every single disability is a spectrum that varies from mild to profound and impacts everybody differently. We all have different confidence, different preferences, different strengths, different stretches, because we are all individuals. As I started my vision loss journey in 1990, I wandered around this world pretending I was sighted because I didn't want to identify as somebody with a disability. The stigmas that go along with disability was a barrier for me. I didn't use a cane. I didn't want to draw attention to myself. I didn't want people staring at me or accusing me of faking it. So I struggled each and every day. I hid my disability because I didn't want to be looked at as being different or not able to do things. In 2015, I met two women who were both confident and blind, and it absolutely blew my mind. I'm like, how are you doing these things? So I spent 9 months in Louisiana wearing a blindfold, learning how to navigate life with no sight at all. That built my confidence and taught me how to live life again, only different than when I had sight. We talk about inclusion, but what does that word really mean? If people don't know how to assist somebody who's blind, communicate with somebody who's deaf or hard of hearing, understand that most disabilities are non-apparent, and that accessibility is more than a parking spot, a bathroom, and a ramp, we will never have inclusion. We're just saying the word. Disability can be an uncomfortable topic for people because we don't always know what to say or do. We don't want to offend. We don't want to embarrass ourselves that we don't know, so sometimes it's just easier to avoid. When we take the time to stop and to listen to each other is when we can start to learn how to connect. We can be a boss who makes our team work, or we can be a leader whose team wants to work for you. Those of us living with disabilities are outside the box thinkers. We can't do things the same way as everybody else. We have to figure out and adapt and do things different. As a leader, if you can be open to having those uncomfortable conversations and really digging deep into learning people's strengths and stretches, will help break through some of these barriers. Disability, somebody can be born with one, or they can develop one later in life through accident, illness, the natural process of aging. We are all going to be 80 years old one day. Every single one of us is going to need some assistance or some accommodations. It's a natural process of life. So accessibility benefits everyone. Inclusion is something that, for those of us living with disabilities, has been a real challenge because people are afraid of interacting with us in the wrong way. I'm going to share some helpful tips with you today that I hope when you walk away from here, you're going to have some more confidence when you are interacting, either serving or hiring people with disabilities. One of the biggest barriers that a lot of us face is people speak to the people that we're with. And it is so frustrating to be dismissed as a person. I can go to a restaurant with my husband, and the server will be, what should I do with her menu? What would she like to eat? If somebody is coming into your business, it's really important that you are speaking to the person with the disability. Also, asking somebody first if they would like help or need help before just jumping in and doing for us. We can't do things the same way as you because our brains or our bodies work different, but that doesn't mean we can't do it. We've just learned to do it different. So when hiring people with disabilities, maybe we can't get from point A to point B the same way that you would like us to. But having those conversations as to how we could do that might just look a little bit different. Everyone is diverse in their abilities, whether you have a disability or not. We all have strengths and stretches. Communicating with each other as to what that might look like. When you have people on your team with disabilities, you have so much value that you maybe don't even realize. Being an outside-the-box thinker myself, I can bring many great qualities to a business. Computers, they're not my favorite. I actually really don't like them. But I can do so many other things. And when we have employers that can say, I can say, this is my strength. I love talking to people. I am very organized. I can help get things in place. I can make movements. But Jane over here really loves the computer and not talking to people. You have two very productive employees when they can come to you and say, hey, this is what's going on for me right now. I'm going to ask everybody if you could do me a favor. I'd like you to clap if any of these things have ever happened to you, because if you are raising your hand, I can't see it. If any of you have been raising your hand because you've had a question, I'm not ignoring you. And please don't say that lady, she just completely blew me off. That's not true. I can't see you. So, has anybody here ever broken or sprained your ankle? Has anybody here ever pulled a muscle in your back or neck? Anybody here ever had a migraine? Anybody here ever cut or burnt your hand you couldn't use a hand? Has anybody never experienced any of those before? So you've all had a disability. So at some point in your life, it was more difficult to navigate. During that time, did you find ways to deal with it? Maybe those of you who broke an ankle, you used crutches. So you used the mobility device to get you around. Maybe those first few days was really awkward, but by week 3, you were probably motoring along with those crutches, correct? Those of us with disabilities have found ways to navigate life, and we've gotten really good at it. It's just different for what it looks like from you. When you had your temporary disabilities, may I ask you another question? Did you feel like a different person, or was the task just harder? If the task was just harder, can you clap? If you felt like a different person, can you clap? So people with disabilities feel exactly like you, only life is a little bit harder for us because of our abilities, our brain or our body works different. No two people are exactly the same, neither is their experience. One of the things for me that is so helpful not seeing well is a simple tip I want to share with you. It's the word hello. Usually when I'm walking down the street, people are quiet. They move out of their way. That is not helpful for people who cannot see. It can actually be sometimes very terrifying. If you think of a foggy day where maybe at the end of the road you don't see that last house, and then the fog is coming in, so it's getting harder and harder to see down the road. Somebody's maybe walking towards you. You can see there's a person there, but you can't see their intentions. When people don't say hello, it can feel very unsettling. When you say hello, some really awesome things happen for us. For one, I don't trip you with my cane. For two, you open up the opportunity for me to ask for help if I needed it. You treat me like everybody else with your word. And those of us who don't see miss out on those smiles, those nods, and those friendly gestures people give each other all the time. So next time you see somebody who's blind in the community, your hello might be the only hello we get in a day, because we don't get those other kind gestures. A couple other tips that are really helpful is introducing yourself. Coming up to me and saying, "Hi, I'm Shelley. I'm the store manager." Or, "Hi, I'm John. I'm the hostess or the host today." Lets you and I make a connection that I visually cannot do. If you know my name and you are to say, "Hi, Gina," I then know you're talking to me. If you closed your eyes right now and I spoke to somebody, would you know who I'm speaking to? No. So often those of us who have low vision or who are blind don't always know that you're speaking to us. So getting our attention, just like getting our attention if we're hard of hearing or deaf, is really important. Please don't come up behind people and touch us. Come around to the side or in front and approach us. It can be very terrifying to be grabbed and touched from behind, especially when we can't see your intentions or didn't hear you coming. So using our name and using your name really does make our lives easier. And the word hello makes us feel included. And it's one word we all know. We are constantly, as employers, making accommodations for our staff. I hear often, if I'm going to hire somebody with a disability, it's going to cost a lot of money. We're going to have to change a whole bunch of things. But you're already making those accommodations. Maybe somebody's pregnant. They need a little bit more time off for doctor's appointments. They don't feel so well. Maybe they have kids. Kids get sick. They need more time off. People have accidents. We've all had accidents before. Accessibility benefits everyone. So when we make our business more accessible, people can thrive. People feel welcome, and people feel respected. So a few helpful tips for businesses that you can do that creates more accommodation is dimmer switches on your lights. That doesn't only just benefit people who have low vision, but it benefits people who are on screens all day, who have bright overhead lights, lots of sunlight coming in. Being able to control your own lighting is an accommodation that benefits everyone. Having some noise-canceling headphones Maybe Chatty Cathy works next to me, or the reception. And I would just like to use those so that I'm able to concentrate and focus. Having an adjustable desk. Having chairs that meet everybody's body. Having 4 chairs with arms. They might all look nice, but do they provide that accommodation? I went into a chiropractor's office, and ooh, it was beautiful. He even had the bed that came up straight. I just had to stand up. But he had 4 chairs in his waiting room that didn't have arms. And I said, you have a beautiful space, but I could never tell my mom to come here because my mom can't get up out of a chair without arms. So I said, if you had 2 arms with chairs, 2 arms without chairs, one that seats maybe a mom and a baby or somebody who's of larger stature, and one that's maybe a bar stool, because you never know, you're a chiropractic office. People have bad backs and hips and knees. Your chairs provide an accommodation that opens up the opportunity for people to feel welcome and respected in your space. What kind of pens do you use? Do they have a lid? Do they have to pull off, or do they have a click? A lidded pen is less accessible than a click pen. Not everybody's able to pull the lid off. When you pull the lid off, it could roll. Not everybody can bend down and pick it up. So providing a little jar with 4 or 5 different types of pens, and maybe even one that's a little bit fatter or has a few elastic bands on it to give you that grip, provides accommodation for whoever comes in, because we don't always know who's going to apply for a job, and we don't always know who's going to come in and we're going to serve or sell to. Small little shifts that you can make will make your business more accessible and therefore welcoming to more people. Does anybody in this room not know somebody with a disability? Is there anybody who knows nobody with a disability in this room? So disability is 27% of our population that is diagnosed between the ages of 15 and 64. In my Youth Adapt program, where I'm going into classrooms and teaching kids how to be supportive of their classmates who's navigating life different, there's 4 to 6 kids per classroom with learning differences. Plus, we have people that don't identify. So there's more than 27% of the population out there that you're missing out on opportunities to either be supporting or having them come into your establishment. And when we know that people are inclusive, we talk about it. And we want to support businesses that are supporting everyone, because we're all people. Just some of us navigate life a little bit different. Having a disability for me has not changed who I am, but it absolutely has changed the interactions in the world that I have. If ever you are unsure what to say or what to do, please just ask the person that you're curious about or that you're speaking with. Ask them what they need and what they want and how you can be a support, and follow their lead. Because no 2 people are exactly the same. Sometimes in life, things happen to us, and we don't always know how to navigate those waters. Getting connected with people who are supporting people with disabilities or who are in that disability sector can help you feel more comfortable and confident in your interactions. Equity looks different for everybody. When I can go to a job, I might need certain accommodations, but it might be different in the next space that I go. Making your spaces accessible makes everybody feel welcomed. And that's all anybody wants, to feel welcomed. It took me a long time to get to the point in my journey of acceptance because I really was worried about what other people thought. It was a huge barrier for me. At first it was the disability, and then it became society. But the more people know what to say and do, it takes that guesswork out and starts to normalize our differences. And it is so okay to be different. If we were all the same, life would be pretty boring. 9 out of 10 disabilities you cannot see. Did you know that? It's a pretty big number. And most of us who have non-apparent disabilities choose not to disclose because of the fear of being treated different. If you are an employer who wants to be welcoming and who wants to let people know that you are open to having the conversations, a couple of small shifts that you can make within your own business is at the end of an email or at the end of a phone call, just stating, is there any accommodations that could be made that will make your experience easier, better? If there's a webinar that I'm going to attend and that question is at the end for me, I can say, if there's slides, if there's any way you could send them ahead of time so that I can review them, because I won't be able to review them while you're doing your webinar. Or I could ask for whatever accommodations I need. But you putting that question in there or asking that question at the end of a conversation is telling me that you are open and you are inclusive. We are not going to change everything overnight, but what we can do is make small shifts in how we do things, because shifts is action and action becomes change. I really want you to know that it is okay to make mistakes. If we're not making mistakes, we're not growing. So instead of avoiding people with disabilities, start being I just lost my word. Start asking questions. Having ADHD myself, sometimes I jump around in my thoughts and sometimes I have a harder time focusing. That's just part of how I navigate life. So if that's happened a few times here, it's just me. I am who I am. Does anybody have any questions for me? And if you put your hand up, I'm going to ignore you. So if you did, if you have any curiosities of something that you might be able to do, I'd be happy to answer. No questions? I often get, why is your cane so tall? You're probably looking at it going, it's very different than what you're used to seeing. You're used to seeing, I think, a shorter cane with a red on the bottom and a rolling tip. A mobility device for somebody is different for every single one of us. Not everybody uses the same wheelchair or the same walker. And in 2015, I was introduced to a straight cane. This cane doesn't fold up. It's got some real great flexibility, so when I'm walking and it touches something, it doesn't jab me in the tummy. I'm a fast walker, and so this is great because if it drops over a curb, I have 2 full steps to stop. It also has a metal tip on the bottom, so the vibration that comes up my cane into the palm of my hand lets me know when I am touching different surfaces. So if I'm walking on a sidewalk and it transitions onto a road, I can tell immediately because the road is a lot smoother than a sidewalk. Having no brakes and extra materials in my cane makes it really light. It's finding what works for each individual. I just happen to love this cane. I moved here from Victoria in January, and the snow is very different for me. And so this is not the best cane for me in the snow here. What's better for me is a shorter cane that is a folding one that's a lot stronger and that has a disc tip on the bottom that rolls. But it's a matter of exploring and finding what works best for each individual. And it took me having to just ask, where did you get that? May I try it? It is called a cane, not a stick or a pole. Please call things what they are. Until somebody tells you that they prefer it different. I have my friend Tom, he calls it a stick all the time. But I'm like saying, if you don't know, just call things what they are. One of the things also that really makes me laugh is people will be like, oh, did you see that? Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to say that word. Oh, I feel embarrassed. No need to be embarrassed. I see, look, and watch only different from you. I watch TV and movies like you. I just turn on something called audio description that gives me a visual, an audio about what visually is happening on the screen. People who are deaf or hard of hearing, new to English, have learning differences, may like closed captioning, subtitles. Those are accessibility features that help. When I went to Louisiana, here in Canada, we have no full-time training for those of us who are blind. But I spent 9 months in Louisiana, I said at the beginning, wearing a blindfold, learning how to navigate life with no sight at all. So the little bit of sight I have, which is less than 10% peripheral vision, is now an asset to me instead of a hindrance. Because I'm able to do tasks, I just learned how to do them a little bit different. So please don't ever assume somebody can't do something, but you know we can't do it the same way as you. And just ask, get curious. Are you going to get an unfriendly response from somebody that you ask a question for? Absolutely you are. Do you get an unfriendly response when you talk to a cashier who's having a bad day? Absolutely you do. Are you never going to talk to another cashier? But sometimes when people are interacting with people with disabilities, they may not have a great experience. Maybe they tried helping somebody who was using a wheelchair one time and they got their head bitten off. Well, you don't know what somebody's going through. Everybody's got their own journey, and it's just be kind to each other. People with disabilities' lives are just harder every day. But your bit of kindness and curiosity makes the biggest difference in our lives. Treating us like normal human beings, because we are, you've all had the disabilities yourself, really does make a big difference. Asking what our strengths and our stretches are. And you should be doing that with every employee. Is every person who's blind that comes and applies for your job going to be a right fit? No. Is every person who has a speech disability going to be the right person? No. Is every person that comes and applies for your job the right person? No. Get to know us. Find out what our strengths are, because we are an asset to your team. If you have that disorganized office, I'm your girl. I have to have things organized in order to find them. Like I say, we all have those strengths and stretches. Our words are very powerful also. The words we choose when we talk about ourselves and we talk about others, we can either lift people up or unintentionally knock them down. I'm going to share one experience in my life that has made a huge difference. You're all probably pretty familiar with the term visually impaired. It's probably one of the more common terms used to describe vision loss. For the first 27 years of my vision loss journey, I said I was visually impaired. Excuse me, I'm visually impaired. What bus is coming? Excuse me, I'm visually impaired. How much is this? It's the way I introduced myself to every person I met for 27 years. What is the first thing you think of when you hear the word impaired? Is it positive? Is it negative? It's negative. So when I stopped saying I'm visually impaired and started saying I have low vision, I'm partially sighted, I'm legally blind, I actually felt better about myself because I wasn't using a negative word over and over and over again to explain who I am. My interactions with other people became kinder, so words really do matter. If you don't know, ask the person that you're interacting with, because we are all different. I know lots of people in the blind community that don't mind visually impaired. But kinder language makes a bigger difference, and people will let you know if they prefer something different, and if they do, then just go with it. Go with what they prefer. I started Disabilities in 2023, I launched, to try and make a difference with the practical tips and tricks that are out there that can make life easier for those of us who navigate life different. My Youth Adapt program, it is empowering youth to become outside-the-box thinkers, to start thinking about what accessibility really is, because it's more than a parking spot, a bathroom, and a ramp. If you are not building your products, your websites, your structures inclusive, it would be terrible when you turn 80 years old and you can't even use the thing that you built. So kids start to learn what their peers are going through hands-on activities and having these conversations, because when we know how to support each other in the classroom, everybody gets their best learning opportunity. It's also the same within businesses. I have a seniors program as well, because we're all going to be 80 one day, and we're all going to need some help. And I want to bring the tools and devices to seniors who are now learning how to navigate life different. And our Community Adapt program, that just helps people have a better understanding and feel comfortable and confident in interacting with people. I really appreciate you today giving me the opportunity to share a few helpful tips. If you feel like you have taken away one or two tips today that will make your next interaction with somebody a little bit easier, can you give me a clap? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming today and sharing. I'd love, if you want to talk more, to connect with me on LinkedIn. That's an easy platform for me to be able to connect. And if you have questions or you need support in your workspace or your community, I'd be happy to share with you just things that are practical and simple. They're not hard, they're not expensive, but they make a big difference in the world of those of us navigating life different. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Gina. Don't go anywhere just yet.
Uh-oh.
Don't go anywhere
Do
just
I
yet.
get to ask you questions?
No.
Oh, I don't get to put you on the spot?
No, good grief, no. No.
Well, then I refuse to answer.
You talked about putting the person in the right spot to be successful. How important is that?
Everybody wants to thrive, right? And when we're given the opportunity and the supports to do that, not just as an individual do we thrive, but as a company you thrive. As humans we thrive. That connection is huge.
Very big, very big. Obviously, you've gone through some barriers in the past, present, probably in the future, more than likely. What do we need to know just collectively as a group in order to make sure that people are successful going forward?
Get comfortable in having those uncomfortable conversations. Because once you're comfortable being able to ask people what they need, they're going to volunteer, and you're going to get such a productive team. So as an employer, you hire just somebody to work for you on an 8-hour day. How many hours do you actually think that you are getting productive work out of? 5.5 or 6?
Don't make me answer, my boss is here.
Yeah, okay. So when you're willing to work with somebody who has a disability and they can say to you, you know what, I can do 5 hours. I can do 2 in the morning, a 2-hour break, 3 in the afternoon. You have 5 hours that you're paying somebody for 5 hours for a fully productive work. So it's being mindful and being supportive of people who just have to navigate life a little bit different. If somebody loses somebody Somebody loses their mom. You give your teammate that grace and that compassion to deal at that time. So just having those conversations where, you give us all the grace and compassion, because we all need it at different points in our lives. You all needed it when you had your temporary disability. It was nice when people were kind to you, I'm sure. But always, always, always ask somebody if they want help first before just jumping in and helping. And I'm going to share one little story. There was an older lady trying to open up a door, and somebody thought, I'm just going to go and open the door for her, and they grabbed the door and they opened it, and she fell. Because she was using her cane and the door for balance, nobody gave her any warning. That recovery period was very long for her. So often we have good intentions, but before jumping in and doing, because you think somebody might need, always ask first, because it really makes a big difference.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gina Martin.